Welcome back to the vlog. Thanks for joining us today. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to all those who hit me up at the casino and made donations to Ukraine. Dennis, Jay and his wife Karen, Giovanni, and a couple other people. Really do appreciate you guys making the donations and supporting Ukraine. It's very kind of you, and I'll make sure the money's getting to a good spot. The charity of choice is called Nova Ukraine, and it's the reason we chose it is because like 98% of the funds get directly to the people who need it. It's run by Ukrainians, not some corporation in New York City or something. And they don't spend all their money on advertising to raise donations. They just, whatever they get, they put it to good use. So that's why we chose them. And we're making a donation this week, and we'll continue to gather more funds as they come in and make the appropriate donations at a later time also. So thank you all for helping the Ukrainian people, and let's get into some poker. Sit back, relax, enjoy. Here it comes. We're at Capital Casino here in Sacramento, California. Buying for the 1-3 game for $500. Notice they got some brand new $5 chips. Definitely a good look. Looking down at two blackjacks from under the gun, put in a raise to 15. End up getting a slew of callers. And I was kind of shocked that they would call an undergun raise, but then again, I've noticed that a lot of people like to call my raises because they want to be on the vlog. Anyway, we have 4 such people in this particular hand, so we go 5 ways to a flop with $76 in the pot. All right, we're looking for a good flop, and the dealer puts out 8-5-5 with 2 clubs. So not really a good flop for our particular hand, but we still have an overpair, and we need to protect it with 4 other players being in the pot. So I bet out $45, trying to protect my overpair. Hopefully it's good. I don't want someone to be drawing cheaply if they have a flush draw or a straight draw. The player immediately next to act makes it $100. When he does this, I think he has a good hand, possibly a great hand. He either has something like a 5, an overpair, or a big combo draw like 6-7 of clubs, ace, queen of clubs, something like that. The player at the other end of the table puts in the call for the cold 100. So this really sets off a lot of alarm bells. This player probably wouldn't be calling with anything less than a big flush draw or a 5. I decided to put in the call for 55 more because I'm getting about 7-1 to draw to my 2 outer. I need about 10-1, of course, but I figure with the chips I have left behind, if I do spike a jack, I'll be able to double up. 7 of hearts, no help. I check it. If the person puts in a big bet, I know they don't have a flush draw at this point, and especially with 2 people calling. And he does put in a big bet of $230. Not much I can do here. The other player thinks for a little bit before folding, and I'm definitely not getting the correct price to draw this hand. I'm pretty sure I am behind, so after Hollywooding for a little bit, I just let my hand go, and he decided that he wanted to show for the vlog, and he did show that he had a 5 in his hand. 5-3 of diamonds, in fact. This hand was an early indication of how the rest of the day was going to go. A lot of playable hands, but nothing after the flop. There was some deep stack at the table, so I loaded up on some chips just in case I picked up a hand. In this situation, everyone folded to me, and the cutoff I put in a raise to 15, and only the small blind calls. Flop comes out pretty good, 8-6 deuce with 2 hearts, so I got 2 overs and a flush draw. It was checked to me, so I continue for $15, and the small blind puts in the call. Turn card comes is a black 10. Now I'm open-ended with a flush draw, and it's checked to me again. And here I decided to go big. I wanted to really put pressure on, maybe a hand like a 8, maybe a hand like 9-10, and I bet 60. And then something surprisingly happens. The player in the small blind puts in a min check raise. So alarm bells are going off. I figure I'm in trouble and need lots of help. I don't think one pair will do it. I either have to make my straight or a flush. He could have something like 7-9 and made a straight. He could have a 10 high flush draw, with a bigger kicker, like ace 10 of hearts, king 10 of hearts. So I'm thinking I need the straight more than I need the flush, but with so many outs, I cannot go anywhere. I also considered that he might have flopped a set, and I was a little bit worried about that. Anyway, I can't get away from it. Let's face it, I'm going to be calling here, and if I hit my hand, I'm going to be going with it. So I put in the additional $60, and we go to a river card, which is the 10 of hearts. So now I don't think he had a 10 with a heart draw because there's a 10 of hearts on the end. And if he had a straight, he would put out maybe a small blocking bet, which he ends up doing. He puts out a $100 bet, which had me a little confused because I figured if he had a set, he would go for it. He has about another $140 behind. And at this point, I'm stuck. I say, let's get it all in there. I shove. He quickly calls. I tell him I have a flush and turn my cards over, and he turns over pocket deuces. So I might have saved another $140 by just flatting, but I really thought that there was a better chance of me making 140 than losing 140, so I went for it. Ended up being a pretty rough day, just being completely card dead, and when I did get hands, I would get them beat or I would totally miss the flop. So even though I have a lot of chips here in front of me, I was in more than that. Most of the big stacks had already left, and I was playing with new players with smaller stacks. Just decided to come back the next day and try then. Very first hand I play the following day, I looked down at 2 9s, and there were just a string of limpers. I think we had 5 or 6 limpers when it got to me, and I decided just to raise to 25, hoping to take it down or eliminate part of the field because there's like too many hands out there. Every single buddy called. I mean, this is 7-way action to the flop with $175 in the pot, and I got a pair of 9s. Just hoping for a good flop, and it comes 8-7-3 with 2 diamonds. So I have an overpair. It's not a very good overpair, but I have one. And the player in the big blind leads out for $14 into a $175 pot. Granted, he has a short stack, but $14, really? One player puts in a call, and then another player with a shortish stack puts in a raise to 50. And here I just have to decide whether I'm going to go for it against 2 short stacks and try to push out the other bigger stack. So that's what I did. I just went for it. I put in 150. It should be enough to cover them. Forces out the other players. Of course, the player in the big blind goes all in with his remaining stack. He didn't have too much behind. And then the next player puts in his remaining stack. And it was like he had $102 there. So I put in the money. We see a run out of a 5 of diamonds and a 4 of diamonds. As soon as I saw the 5 of diamonds, I figured I was dead. The player with the side pot actually had 8-7, so I kind of sucked out on him with a runner flush, but the other player in the big blind had ace-10 of diamonds. After a while, I got a better seat change, and then this really weird hand came up. I got 2 aces under the gun, opened for a raise to 20. I opened a little bit bigger just because the game has been playing pretty big. A lot of deep stacks at the table. I'm one of the shorter stacks with, $460. I get 2 callers, the player on my direct left and one from the cutoff. Both players are solid players, and we see a flop of 6-7-5 with 2 hearts. So it doesn't really hit my raising range, so I decided to check it and see what happens behind me, because I really shouldn't be betting this kind of texture too much with an under the gun raise. The player puts in a bet for $35. I cannot go away. He could have flopped something big. It's hard to say. I'm looking for a blank on the turn before I commit more chips. And we get the 2 of spades. Looks like the biggest blank in the world to me, so I thought about leading, but I figured he would continue with just about his entire range, trying to price out overcards. So I check it over to him, and he puts out a pretty big size bet, this time for $120. And at this point in my mind, I'm just trying to figure out, if I call this 120, am I folding the river? And not unless a super scary card. And I said, there's a big chance that he has a pair and a flush draw or some sort of combo draw. And if that's the case, and I'm going to be calling the end, I might as well get it in now. So I toss in the chip, say I'm all in, and he goes into the tank and starts talking about the hand. And it becomes apparent that he has a very big hand. He's thinking I might have been playing 8-9 suited this way, which I would. And I don't know. I think he's going to call. I don't know whether he flopped two pair, like a 7-6 or 6-5, or whether he flopped a set and is worried about it. I don't think he can get away from this price if he has two pair or a set, so I expect him to call. But he tanked about this for a good 2, maybe 3 minutes before finally putting in the chips for a call. And he says, I can't lay it down. I got a set. You might be doing this with an overpair. And I go, yeah, I just have an overpair. And then the ace of hearts hits on the end. And I tell him I hit it, and he kind of flashes that he had pocket deuces, and I rivered him with pocket aces. What a suck out.
I really liked the way your opponent played this specific hand. His bet on the turn was perfect sizing. He got you to commit all your chips with an inferior hand. He got lucky and caught up, but this is just one of those spots where I don't think you could have got away from it, especially with that turn card looking like a complete blank. You either have to put him on a really big hand and fold, or you have to go with it. You went with it, you were wrong, but you got there. Lucky dog.
Middle position player limps. Next player puts in a raise to 12. Get a caller from a player on my right. I decided just to call. I could go with a 3-bet here, but I decided to be a little bit conservative with this particular hand. End up getting a bunch of callers. So we go 6 ways to a flop. And the flop comes out decent, but not great. 4 ace 6 with 1 heart. So I got top pair and a backdoor flush draw and some weird backdoor straight draws. And it ends up getting checked to me, and I'm just going to check this one back. I'm a little bit concerned someone might have an ace with a better kicker. Turn card comes as a king of spades. Pretty much a complete blank. Now the player in middle position leads at it for $35. The initial raiser puts in the call. I'm putting him on a hand something like king queen. I think I'm good here, but I'm worried about my kicker. I just put in the call and hope to improve. I'm looking for the board to pair actually down low so I don't have to worry about my kicker. But instead we get an ace of diamonds on the river. So we make 3 aces, but I still have a bad kicker, and I'm playing the 6 on board if someone else has an ace. The middle position player, again, puts in a bet. It looks like a value bet for sure. It's $85. I'm pretty sure that he has an ace with a better kicker than me. I mean, he can't have one with a worse unless he has a 3 or a 2. Anyway, the player where I think has king queen puts in the call. So I'm pretty sure I have him beat. I don't really like my hand too much, but I'm getting a very good price to put in a call. Hopefully I can get maybe a chop if he has a similar hand to mine. I mean, he did limp in, so maybe he doesn't have anything big with his ace. Anyway, I think I just got to put in the call. I make a crying call with my ace weak kicker, and he rolls over ace 10, and he takes some of those chips back that I got from him last time I called an ace on the river. New day, new table, new seat, same old card. So I got 7-8 suited, open for a raise to 15. End up getting a caller on my left, and the next player puts in the call, and a couple players out back put in a call. So we end up going 5 ways to this flop with $78 in the pot. Now, I haven't hit one of these real hard in a very long time, hoping to do so here, and that's what we get. We get king 9-6 with 2 hearts. So open-end straight draw, flush draw, very disguised hand, multi-way action. I'm going to continue for $40, trying to build a pot in case I hit it. Next player puts in the call, following player puts in the call. Other players, they look at their hands for a while and said, hey, yeah, that's a pretty nice looking pot out there. Let's put in $40. So this thing's really growing. It comes up to $278. And the dealer is going to put out a turn card. And we're really hoping and praying that we hit something, because it's been a long, cold streak, and we get the beautiful 5 of clubs on the turn. So we make the nuts, and we have a redraw. What more can you ask for? Well, you can ask for some action. So I decided to bet $150, which is a little over half pot. And I'm thinking that if someone had 2 pair, a big king, maybe a flush draw or some sort of combo draw with like Jack 10 or Queen 10 of hearts, they'll be coming along. First player thinks for a little bit and ends up folding. Was hoping to get a call out of one person, But it looks like that's not going to be the case because the next player to act decides that he is not going to call my bet. He is going to put in a raise, and he makes it $400 to go. Now, this is a player who watches the vlog and is on the conservative side of the spectrum and has owned me for the last 2 weeks. Every time I got involved with him, he ends up taking my money. So I'm thinking I'm in pretty good shape here. He either has a set or he has the same hand I do. And since I have the redraw, I'm happy to get all my chips in. So I jam. He puts in the quick call. I tell him I had the 7-8 of hearts and I roll it over. And the river card comes as a 5 of hearts. So it pairs the board, but we make the flush. He slowly rolls over, 7-8 of diamonds. So he turned the nuts also, and I get there with the redraw. So I'm started off good, and shortly thereafter I get ace king on the button. There's a player in late position opening for a raise to 15. I make it 45. He doesn't have a lot of chips, and I don't want to scare him off. I figure I want to draw him in a little bit. So with a $180 stack, I'm happy if he calls, and that's what he does. So we're going to go heads up to this flop with $94 in the pot. The flop comes ace 7-3 rainbow. Pretty good flop for ace king. He checks it over to me. I figure I'm just going to continue with my entire range in this spot. I put out a bet for $25, which I figured would be enough to get some action. If not, I'm okay with that, him just folding. He decides that he really likes his hand and puts in a raise to $65. Now, of course, the alarm bells are going off, and I'm thinking that maybe he has a hand like two pair or a set. But he has a smallish stack, and I already have some money in there, so I just jammed, trying to hope that he's just going off with a hand like ace jack or ace queen. Turn card comes as a 10. River card comes as a jack. I show my ace king, and he shows ace 7 of hearts. Ouch.
It's a tough spot, but if he had a big ace and is just going with it, wouldn't he just shove? So more likely he has something like ace 7 or ace 3. Against ace 7, you only got 15% equity. Ace 3, you're closer to 30%. But either way, you're in pretty bad shape.
After two players limp in, I look down at ace 10 suited in the cutoff, putting a raise to $20. Trying to build a pot here, and we have someone in the small blind that wants to build an even bigger one because he makes it 56. The other players end up folding out, and now it's back over to me. I'm thinking he has either a very strong ace or he has a big pair. Either way, I got position, and we are somewhat deep, so I'm going to go ahead and put in the call and hope for the best. So heads up to a flop with $121 in the pot, looking for something good, and that's exactly what we get. The flop comes out ace, ace, 5 with a 5 of hearts. So we flop 3 aces, we got backdoor flush draw, and we have the player leading into us again, this time for $40. I think here I'm just going to end up putting in the call. There is merit to raising, but I really don't want my fish to get off the hook. So I play it a little bit slow by just calling. Turn card comes as a deuce of clubs. He thinks about betting, but then decides on checking. So I don't think he has an ace. I think I do. And if I bet, he might be able to decipher that. So I'm going to check this one back.
You really need to bet that turn. Nobody's going to be folding a pocket pair, kings, queens, or jacks. There's a jackpot in this casino. You bet it, they're going to call. And you can even bet bigger than the 55 that he bet on the river. You can probably get 80 out of him. He's not going to fold when there's a jackpot there, and he has a jackpot hand.
And try to get value on the river. And sure enough, when a blank 10 of spades comes on the river, he puts down a bet for $55. And here, I'm just going to go ahead and go for value and a raise. But then I got a little greedy and I decided just to shove. He has about $300 behind. I think if I raised like $120, $140, he would be forced to call off with a hand like pocket kings or queens or jacks. But for this shove and his remaining stack, I think I just overplayed my hand terribly. And I was just hoping that he would just read this as a weak attempt to get him off the pot. Anyway, he goes into the tank for over a minute, and he finally decides on putting in the fold. And the entire time I was just kicking myself for overplaying this hand. And shortly after this hand, I decided to leave for the day. So I ended up playing 3 days this week. These are kind of like the highlight hands of those 3 days. First day, I just got brutalized, being card dead and running into a couple big hands. Second day, I fought and struggled and won that big pot with aces against the pocket deuces when he turned a set, and I rivered a bigger set. Third day, got that 7-8 suited, flopped a big hand, turned the nuts, and someone had the nuts also, and I had the redraw. So I think my luck is starting to change. I think I'm starting to get some of my confidence back. Thanks for making it to the end of the video. I really do appreciate all your support. And thanks to those who have supported Ukraine. I really do appreciate you helping them out. I think free people around the world should stand together against tyranny. Anyway, until next time, good luck at the tables, and we'll see you back here soon.